Hey guys, Bushcraft412 here, and last video of the day. Let's talk about having a personal prepping plan. Now when it comes to shit hits the fan, anything can go. I mean, we all prepare for different reasons and for different things. Some people, for example, are preparing for natural disasters, hurricanes, floods, earthquakes. Other people are preparing for a complete societal collapse in America, a financial collapse. Some people are, planning for civil war, unrest, anything. Everybody's different, and it's tough to lump any one prepper into a group because we all do it for our own reasons. Some people do it, because out of concern for their family, they want to keep their family safe during short-term emergencies, up to people who are really into sustainability and who are looking to be able to not only just survive, but thrive beyond these kind of scenarios by being able to provide your own food, gardening, and complete and total self-reliance. So I guess when you start getting into prepping, you have to decide, why are you prepping, what are you prepping for, and gear your plan towards that. You can watch videos all day long, and there's no two YouTube preppers have the same ideas and are doing the same thing. And not only that, but we all live in different areas of the world and different countries, and there's different laws and rules and availabilities around us. For example, I live here in New York, and in New York it rains all the time. So having water is not the biggest prep on earth. You can literally, I know for a fact my grandparents lived on rain barrels. They didn't have indoor plumbing when they first bought their house, and they lived on rain barrels. Why? Because it rains all the time in New York, and they were able to survive on that. And I know if push comes to shove here in New York, I too could survive using just rain barrels. Now that is not the case for different climates. Down south, out west in the desert, water just doesn't grow on trees. You need to have good stockpiles of water. So your plan and my plan are always going to be different depending on where you live. And being I live here, water is not an issue. I keep a good amount of bottled water, as you can see here. I keep enough for probably a good month or so of water supply in the house. But we use that water on a regular basis, and we don't really drink the tap water here because we are in a suburban area and we have city water, and I don't really trust municipal water. Not that this stuff isn't it's from a municipal supply. So it's probably just as bad, but the fancy packaging makes me feel good, I guess. Now I'm a renter. Some people own their own homes. Some people are living with a lot of land. Some people are renting in urban, suburban, rural areas. We all live in different areas. Now, I'm moving in 3 weeks, guys. I'm actually buying a place in 3 weeks. So my plan is going to be changing. My whole prepping world is going to be completely turned upside down in the next few weeks because I'm going to go from suburban renting to pretty much rural living. I'm going to be living in an area that's zoned for agricultural. So it's going to be a big change for me. Now, I always kept about a 3-month supply of food, and people always said that's not enough. And I said, yes, it is enough because I live in the suburbs. It's not sustainable here. I can't survive long term here. So I only kept a food supply long enough to, if there was some kind of complete total collapse, 3 months is a good enough time to let things calm down and then plan my bugging out from there. So I always kept a 3-month supply, but now that I'm moving more to a rural environment, I'm going to be changing that. I'm going to be going up to probably a 1-year food supply. And also being that it's rural, I'm going to have the extra space. I'm probably going to up my water supply to 2 or 3 months of bottled water. I'm probably going to include some of those like 5-gallon water cooler jugs in the mix. That way I can store water without having so much wasted plastic. So, that's going to be a big change in my plan. And where you are and where you live, if, for example, you do live in a rural environment and you have your own garden, you may not need to stock up on dry goods or canned goods as much as someone who is in an urban environment. So it really depends on where you live as to how much food you want to stock up. Generally, you always want to make sure you have a couple of weeks worth of food in your home at a bare minimum. I would recommend at least a month's worth, but I would gear towards 2 or 3 months to be comfortable, because any minor, small scale disaster should be resolved within 2 to 3 months. Beyond that, you're looking at something that's could drag on for quite a long time. Now, firearms is another big area where people tend to prep and focus a lot of their prepping energy. I live in New York, probably the worst state on earth for firearm laws. We are completely restricted. We have guns that are banned. It's just a complete and total nightmare. Prepping firearms in New York is very difficult. There's not an overabundance of dealers, and there's really no used market. We don't have pawn shops. Typically don't sell guns in New York. They can, but a good majority of them don't, because pawning per se is illegal in New York. They can pretty much just sell them used, and what's the point of selling them used when people can just put them in the swap sheet and sell them, you know? So it's kind of, we have a very poor secondary market, which really stinks for people in New York, because we are forced to buy a lot of our firearms from big chain dealers like Bass Pro or Gander Mountain or Dick's Sporting Goods, which kind of kills you because they're charging a premium price. This is not the same case in different parts of the country. Out west, particularly places like Arizona, have very few to no gun laws. You know, you can pretty much buy whatever you want, whenever you want. It all depends on what state you're in as for individual laws. So for me, most of my firearms are hunting related. They're generally, you know, more for hunting. Why is that? Because here in New York, we've had the assault weapon ban ever since the federal one expired. We decided to continue that for some crazy reason. So getting a hold of guns like AR-15s is very difficult because we still have to comply with the assault weapons ban. So AR-15s are at a premium. The AK-47 is a banned gun here in New York, so you have to buy a clone like a Saiga or a Wasser or something like that. You can't buy an actual AK unless it's pre-banned. We've also banned Uzis and FAL, and you know, there's a good handful of banned guns on the list, and it really stinks. Especially when there's guns out there, because we do have the assault weapon ban. You can't have anything that's semi-automatic with a magazine, with a pistol grip, or a threaded barrel. And there's a lot of guns that just do not make New York State legal versions, so we can't get a hold of a lot of stuff you guys can get out there. So prepping firearms can be very difficult depending on where you live. And guys, there are people out there who are doing this in, you know, the United Kingdom and other countries where firearms are pretty much banned, period. So in that case, those people have to look at their self-defense differently and plan accordingly with items that are non-firearms, and for a lot of times knives, because a lot of these countries also have pretty severe bans on knives. So when you develop your plan, it has to be regionally specific. Where do I live? What do I need? What resources are available around me? But you also need to look at and balance your main key areas, which is number one, food. Well, actually, number one is water. You can only live a couple of days without water. So your number one priority should be water, because that's, you know, 3 days without water, you're done. Food. You can go pretty much probably a month and a half, almost 2 months with no food. If you ration even a small amount of food, you can live quite a long time on a pretty strict ration of food. Food is a very good priority. You don't need to go overboard with food. You don't need to stock up for a year or 2 years right away. Build your food supply slowly. Firearms, get what you can afford. Be practical. Spending 2 years to save up to buy an AR-15 does you no good if the shit hits the fan tomorrow and you have no guns. So you may need to consider buying a very inexpensive firearm like a Ruger 1022 or something like an SKS or a Russian Mosin Nagant, you know, bolt action rifle, something for self-defense or hunting and all that, and just to have it around until you can save up for those more expensive AK-47s and AR-15s. You know, what you don't have can't help you. Same thing with ammunition. A lot of people tend to save up a long time and buy their ammunition in bulk. It's a great move to do it, guys, but if you have no ammunition in your house, it's not going to help you. It's good to build up a small initial supply and then save up for your bulk ammunition. But once again, regionally specific. You know, you need to look at where you are and what you can get a hold of and be realistic about what you buy. And having this plan, and it never hurts to have your plan in writing, to have it down on a piece of paper and list each thing. What are your goals? How much water do you have? How much do you want to have? What local resources are available? Do you have access to water on your land? Is there a stream nearby? Are you on municipal water? Are you on a well. You know, and if you're on a well, how do you run that well if the power's out? Start planning these things and plotting these things and making almost like flow charts as to how you're going to deal with individual problems. How will you deal with the power being out? How will you cook with the power being out? How will you keep yourself clean, hygiene, when the power is out? Start at the top, water, food, and defense, and go from there. And build out and start asking these questions. How do I do this? How do I do that? How do I prepare for this? Now, myself, moving to, like I said, out to the country here, I'm going to have to make big changes. I'm going to have to up my food supply and my water supply. I think my ammunition supply will not be as important because I'm not going to be around the couple 100,000 people that are near me now. I'm going from an area that's got 500,000 people around me to an area that's got maybe 10 or 20,000 near me. So I'm getting away from a substantial amount of the population. So guns and firearm prepping is not going to be important where I am. But I need to start looking at things like generators, power inverters, maybe even solar panels, so that I can become more self-sustainable on this land I'm buying. So my plan is completely, getting rearranged, and luckily I can transport all of my, trust you guys, if you are a prepper and you have to move, it is a pain in the ass, because when you have to explain to your wife why you have so much stuff stacked away, and it's like, why do you need this many cans of that? Why do you need this many cans of that? Sometimes it's a little tough to explain some of the crazier things that we prep. It can be a real pain, and it is right now. I'm packing just boxes and boxes of things, and it feels like there's no end in sight. But these are all very useful items that are all going to be a big help if there ever is any kind of a disaster or shit hits the fan scenario. So with that change, it makes a big change in my plan and my budget, where my money is being spent. And you should do the same, guys. Get a pen and paper, make a list, what you have, what you need, and what you have available. Can you get water? Can you get food? What's around you? What resources are nearby? What dangers are nearby? And identify all those things on paper and start addressing them one by one. For example, if you live next door to a chemical plant, it may not be a bad idea to invest in gas masks, a chem suit, duct tape, plastic to cover your windows in case you ever are forced to, kind of defend in place after a chemical spill, because you just can't go outside, it's not safe. Think about these things. Look at your neighborhood, look at the dangers, look at the positives, get it on paper, and flush all these ideas out and solve them one by one with your prepping. So I hope you guys enjoyed Bushcraft 412 with having a personal prepping plan.